As we send Yuga back to his own time, we say farewell. But Yuga isn't the only character to disappear, as we also have Yuumu vanishing after all was said and done. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today we're talking all things episode 102 of the Yugioh Go Rush anime series. A really good episode that admittedly had some ups and downs, but ultimately I loved what they did after the duel. So let's talk about the episode itself. So in my last review I mentioned how the monster Stray Familiar was used to symbolise Yuga's character. But in this episode and in the previous, it was made very clear that Yumu's character was represented by Seven's Road Witch. So the idea of Seven's Road Witch and Stray Familiar fusing together in the last episode is basically telling us that these two characters, Yumu and Yuga, are combined in their efforts, combined in their thoughts and goals. So when we got given the other Seven's Road Witch fusion, which is Seven's Road Ultima Witch, this helped to reinforce Yumu's decision to side with Yuga, and it shows that she's 100% on the same path as him. Now after the duel, I did also love how she continued to stand by Yuga's side instead of attempting to rejoin UTS. After all, being pulled into this wormhole was a risk, but she still took it to stay by Yuga's side, and this again helps to back up her decision and shows that she really does care about Yuga and wants to avoid him being lonely. The scene just before Yuga goes back to the future where Yumu hugs him is so sweet and wholesome and heartwarming, but it did carry a slight air of confusion as she calls him her far-flung future descendant, which I've got no problem with because that's a true and valid statement, but then she calls him her dearest child. So I am guessing that this scene was done before they send Yuga off, as the way the show presents it makes it seem like the events are taking place when Yuga is floating towards the future. So again, this must have happened before they push him off of Valvalgir, or Yumu had to quickly fly off the ship, or was going to risk, being in the future with him. However, if we go into speculation territory, this could be hinting at there being more than one Odo Yuumu, as the time when Yuga crossed between gaps in time and space, we could have seen this as an alternative version of Yuumu visiting him. Now real quickly on Yumu's disappearance, this was brilliant as it delivered on the repercussions for their actions theme. Now after all, creating a rift in time and space, you should have repercussions, because in many shows or movies, when something has to do with time travel related issues or a character knowing the future, there are always some consequences that follows. Yuumu has now travelled / seen the future twice. So this disappearance could be her punishment. Plus it gives her a chance to follow up on her promise to become Otis / carry out Yuga's dream. Now I am curious as to where she has gone, but my only concern / fear is that she's been taken by our new antagonists, which we've been hinted at with the new promotional poster for the next season, as I really don't want Yumu to become a damsel in distress. I'd love it if she actually becomes this consistent thorn in the sides of our heroes, mainly Yudius and Yuhi, because again, she's trying to get a different future where it might conflict with some of the things that UTS are currently doing. Creating this dynamic where in Sevens we had Otis not really being a thorn in Yuga's side, but just being there and helping, but also not helping in other situations. But playing devil's advocate, it's possible that she could be the next main antagonist. After all, she wants to carry on Yuga's dreams, but there was something strange that happened when she saw the future this time around. It shows us the Gohart logo, and with Yumu knowing that Gohart is a threat for Rush Duels, even if Yuga's time and memories all showed events where Gohart and him are now on the same side, there is still that big gap between when Yuga created Rush Duels in his timeline to whenever the events in Go Rush end. Add on the fact is, we could now be getting an even more menacing and more powerful Goha company with Goha Yuna at their helm. We don't really know what's going on with Yuna yet, and I'll touch more on her character in just a minute. Returning to the duel though, 7th Road Ultima Witch looked incredible. Now it's been a while since I've watched the anime and a monster has made me go, I want that, I'm gonna buy it. And that definitely does the trick for me here. I want this card physically. Also, in regard to Joint Tech Rex with all of those equip spells attached to it, this thing really did just become an ancient gear monster with its prevention of traps during battle. I don't know, was that me? Have I been playing too many ancient gear decks on Master Duels? Who knows? But yes, for a duel they quoted that never really had a winner. Do they really have to make Yuumu lose the actual duel itself? Well, yes, as Monster Reborn still needs to exist. I understand that. However, it makes me sad that she has lost here, as it would have been more proof and would have further cemented her siding with Yuga and her convictions moving forward. But her losing does add more stock into the she is now Otis category, because after all, Otis is known for losing. As a side note, when they sent Yuga off, I loved how it was all of the variant characters of the characters that Yuga first travelled into space with at the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. So you know, we had the variants for Roman, Luke, Roa. You get the idea. Now then, the aftermath. This segment of the episode was so cool as it helps to showcase those seeds for the future being planted. And things come full circle for Manya / the Itachi family, as Manya is now working for Goha, just like how in 7s, Mimi works for Goha. And speaking of Goha Yuna, it seems to have taken all of this really badly, as there's this cloud of doom and gloom that follows the character. Her character looks to be in a very dark place, hinting at the start of Goha's dark turn. But Yuna feeling this way, she really only has herself to blame, as she didn't join the group, so she missed out on a chance to say goodbye to Yuga. And honestly, I don't have much sympathy for her in this situation, but I get it. When you love someone, it hurts. But sometimes, you gotta let them go. And in this case, she probably knew deep down that Yuga could never stay, even if she wanted to force him to. And if she did, she would have just proved him right that in the future, Goha was this oppressive company that really controlled the lives of children. However, with that being said, there are some changes, as Mutsuba Company isn't going down the path of heavy machinery. Instead, they are venturing into space travel. Yet, they aren't having much success or luck because they can't understand how to get the engine to work in Yuga's spacecraft. And of course, UTS are less active. And I get it. 2 seasons have ended now, and in both of those seasons, Yuhi has lost people that are important to him. At the end of season 1, Yugioh stayed behind in Volgear, leaving Yugioh behind. At the end of this season, he's now lost Yuumu. And it does kind of prove that Yuumu is the only one capable of running UTS, because since she disappeared, they've not been very active. But at the same time, I really like how they touch on this telepathic connection gimmick for these twins again, because of the whole Yuhi doesn't believe she's truly gone situation. Now, real quick, switching over to Yugioh's character. They tried to create a bit of tension with him slowly disappearing. But the main highlight for this character was his belief in Yuumu. He knew that she wasn't really his enemy, and yet she still cared about him and the other Vulgarians. The whole segment was just beautiful. I loved the emotional range from both characters that were presented in their little talk during their duel. But at the same time as well, I like how Yugioh was dealing with this kind of conflict in his mind, where Kawaido had told him, be careful of an Odo. He wasn't sure if that meant Yuga, Yuhi, or Yuamu. My only real criticism with the episode itself was the unexplained reason as to why Yugioh stopped disappearing. Was this due to the effects of Earthdama? Because we saw like a projection of Danamu reaching out towards Yugioh when he started to fade? Or Monster Reborn had an effect on him that kept him around longer? But if Earthdama was the reason, how come it didn't affect Yugioh in his duel against Yugioh? And if we see Rovian again in the future seasons, can they please give us something more than just curry to talk about? Nevertheless, I think this episode did a great job at hyping me up for the next season to come, and I love the fact that a Puck is still involved. She joins Yuki and Yugioh on this ship, and they're travelling to space for an adventure. This is going to be fun. So let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below, and on anything that I've missed. They aren't showing another episode until April 7th, but don't let that worry you, because I've got a couple of wacky theories that I'm going to be springing on you in a moment. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe, like the video, comment, and all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Arigato, matane. Goodbye.